Life in North Dakota is pretty great. Growing communities, friendly neighbors, beautiful land with plenty of room to roam. We live the good life. We're also pretty resourceful here. We know that a lot of what we need for our livelihood can be found right here in North Dakota. Take our electricity, for example. Did you know that almost 70% of our electricity in North Dakota comes from coal found right here in the ground? The lights you turn on at night, the heat you use in the winter to keep your house warm, the power you use to charge your phones and computers, all of that is possible because of what can be found right underneath your feet. You see, in North Dakota, we have a lot of a certain type of coal. In total, there are 4 different types of coal: anthracite, bituminous, subbituminous, and lignite. They differ from each other by how old they are. Lignite, the type we have here in North Dakota, is the youngest type of coal, even though it still took millions of years to turn into what it is today. Lignite is a soft brown coal that has a low heat content, meaning it gives off fairly low amounts of energy compared to the other types of coal. However, because it's a young type of coal, lignite is found close to the ground's surface, which means we don't have to go too far to get it. In fact, years ago, when there weren't large machines to do the work, coal miners were still able to use simple tools to get lignite out of the ground. And because it's so accessible, it requires less disruption to the environment. Once we extract lignite from the ground, we turn it into electricity to power our state. North Dakota has one of the largest reserves of lignite in the world, with 25 billion tons, enough to last for 800 years. We have so much lignite in North Dakota that we're not only able to power our entire state, but we even have enough lignite to provide electricity to Minnesota and other states. Lignite is abundant, inexpensive to mine, and good to use for electricity. Because of that, the lignite industry thrives in North Dakota and in turn benefits the economy here by providing thousands of jobs and billions of dollars in revenue. But before we get into how we do all that, let's take a look at how we got lignite in the first place. To see how lignite formed in North Dakota, we have to go back in time. Way back in time. Around 60 million years ago, in fact. Back to when North Dakota was nothing more than a swampland from an inland sea. If you had a time machine and could travel back to this time, you'd find yourself in the middle of a humid swamp surrounded by plants and trees. As the plants died, they would fall to the ground and become piled under water and sediment. As time passed, these plants would start to decompose and became layered under more plants and sediment, increasing the pressure and heating things up. Nearby, the Rocky Mountains began to form, and the runoff from this process packed these plants down further and further, compressing them together even more. All this heat and pressure caused a chemical reaction, which turned these plants and sediment into the coal we use today. The more the plant material was compressed and the longer it existed determined the type of coal it is today. Take bituminous coal, for example. Bituminous coal was formed under more pressure and heat and for a longer period of time than lignite. Because of that, bituminous coal is found deeper in the ground and is harder to get. In North Dakota, we have 25 billion tons of lignite. Here's a quick math equation to show you just how much that is. In 2016, North Dakota mined and produced 28.7 million tons of lignite. 1 ton of lignite has as much energy as 1 barrel of oil. Annually, an average car consumes 580 gallons of gasoline, what we get from a barrel of oil. So those 28.7 million tons of lignite is enough energy to run 5.5 million cars for a whole year. Whoa! But in order for us to be able to produce that energy, we had to start by getting the lignite out of the ground. Extracting coal out of the ground is a process called mining. Since lignite coal is found close to the surface, we actually don't have to dig very deep to mine it. Early lignite miners even used horse-drawn carts and steam shovels to get to the lignite years ago. The mining process looks quite different than it did nearly 100 years ago. Today, North Dakota has 5 surface mines, each one strategically placed near a pocket of lignite reserves. We also work closely with a mine in Montana to provide lignite to a Montana power plant. Even though lignite is close to the surface, miners still have to go through a couple of layers to get to it. First to go through are the topsoil and subsoil. These soils are fertile and good for plants to grow in, so it is kept and either redistributed elsewhere or stockpiled for future use. Next up is the overburden, a clay material that isn't suitable for plants. Mining companies remove overburden with excavators, dump trucks, and drag lines. The excavators dig up some of the overburden, and dump trucks then remove it from the site. A lot of overburden is removed by drag lines, giant machines that can weigh over 8,000 tons. That's almost as heavy as 40 blue whales, the largest mammal in the world. But that's not the only thing huge about these drag lines. Drag lines use buckets that are larger than school buses to sweep up the overburden. When drag lines arrive, serious work gets done. Overburden, beware! Once all of that has been removed, we have finally reached the lignite. Before it can be dug up though, lignite has to be broken up a bit first. This is the job for rippers. They plow through the lignite and break it into small pieces for front-end loaders to pick up. It's then transferred to coal haulers that take the coal to power plants to be burned for electricity. These haulers can be massive. The tires alone can get up to 6 to 8 feet high. This may seem like a big job, and it is, but lignite miners have worked really hard over the years to make sure this process doesn't only benefit us by providing electricity, they really wanted to make a positive impact on our land in North Dakota too. So after removing the lignite from the ground, they start a process called reclamation. Reclaiming the land means that mining companies leave the land as healthy or healthier than they found it. This means the land needs to produce as much or more than it did prior to mining, so plants can continue to grow and wildlife can flourish there once again. So far, the lignite industry has reclaimed over 22,000 acres of land in North Dakota. Pretty cool, huh? So once we have this lignite, what do we do with it? Well, a lot of this coal is used to generate electricity. About 80% of it, actually. Fun fact, 74% of all the electricity we use in North Dakota comes from lignite coal. About 10% of Minnesota's electricity comes from the lignite we mine here in North Dakota. Take a moment to think of everything you use electricity for. You wake up and turn on your lights, boom, electricity. You turn off the alarm on your phone, boom, electricity. Want to watch some cartoons? Play some video games? Yep, that's electricity too. It might just be easier to think of things that don't use electricity. We'd really be heading back to the Stone Age then. In North Dakota, there are a total of 7 power plants that turn lignite into electricity for us to use. So what do we do with the other 20%? Well, 13% of lignite is used to make synthetic natural gas. Currently, North Dakota has the only large-scale coal-to-gas plant in the nation, the Great Plains Synfuels plant in Beulah, North Dakota. This plant takes lignite and produces natural gas that is then delivered to 400,000 homes and businesses across the nation. We have even taken things internationally. When lignite is converted to natural gas, carbon dioxide is created as a byproduct. We don't let that go to waste, though. We send that carbon dioxide through a pipeline to Canada, where they pump it into their own oil fields to force oil out. And finally, the remaining 7% of lignite is used to produce fertilizer products and other useful chemicals. People in the lignite industry are always working to use all the different parts of lignite mining to better our environment and our quality of life, so they strive to never let anything go to waste. Certain byproducts are created when we use lignite. For example, coal gasification, the process used to produce the natural gas we mentioned earlier, creates byproducts that we now use to make other things like Dephenylized crylic acid, which is used in things like industrial solvents, resins, and antioxidants. Catechol, which are used in pharmaceuticals, insecticides, and food flavoring. Naphtha, which is used in gasoline, cleaning fluid, shoe polish, and as fuel for camping equipment. And phenol, which is used in resins that bond plywood together and in the casting industry. In another process called coal combustion, Quite a bit of fly ash is created as a byproduct, 600,000 tons of it to be exact. To keep this from going to waste, this fly ash is collected and sold to be used to replace cement in some cases, creating stronger and more durable products. So, as you can see, a lot of thought has gone into utilizing lignite as efficiently as possible. And just as much thought is put into making lignite mining better for the environment. In fact, since the 1970s, emissions from coal-based energy has decreased around 83%. A common misconception is that what you see coming out of the stacks at power plants is harmful smoke. In reality, this is almost entirely water vapor. The lignite industry has been working on technology that allows us to generate power while also maintaining our status as one of only a handful of designated clean air states. We now know a little bit about the relationship between lignite and our land here in North Dakota, how it got here, how we get it out of the ground, and how we turn it into electricity to use. But what about us? How does lignite affect us directly? For starters, using lignite coal for power makes the price of our electricity one of the most inexpensive in the country. This is the average price in the United States for electricity. And this is the average price for electricity in North Dakota. And it's all thanks to lignite. We use a lot of energy in North Dakota. Think of the many cold winter months for a moment. The one thing you can always look forward to is a nice, warm house or school. Inexpensive electricity, then, helps us stay warm for a low cost. The low price of electricity also benefits our farmers and businesses. They use quite a bit of electricity as well, so having inexpensive prices lowers their costs to operate, saving them money that can be used to grow their business and compete on an international level with others in their industry. Other companies actually notice this and are then attracted to set up shop in North Dakota too, which grows and strengthens our economy even more. All this new business sparked by the lignite industry actually results in $3 billion of total revenue that goes directly back to our economy. In fact, the lignite industry even provides jobs for many people in North Dakota, either directly or indirectly. Let's take a closer look at some of those. The lignite industry needs more than just coal miners to function. Today, about 15,000 people have jobs because of this booming industry. That's about 1 in 20 people in North Dakota who have jobs tied to lignite. Because jobs in the lignite industry are so important and require highly skilled workers, they offer some of the highest salaries in the state. On average, people working in the lignite industry make $70,000 to $80,000 a year. There are a wide variety of jobs that are all tied to lignite. But let's start at the source. In total, there are about 4,000 people who work directly with lignite in the industry itself. Surveyors work to examine the lignite deposits before any mining has begun. Because of their work, mining companies know where to dig for the coal and about how much of it they will be able to extract. Mining engineers and geologists are the people who design a plan of action to get that coal out of the ground. They're the ones in charge of making sure lignite is mined safely and efficiently. Once a plan is prepared, people like the heavy equipment operators get to work to uncover the coal. These individuals operate the big machines like the drag lines, dozers, and dump trucks and excavators, to name a few. There are about 11,000 individuals who work indirectly with the lignite industry. Electricians, for example, help provide the electricity produced by lignite to our homes and businesses. So, as you can see, there's quite a variety of careers that exist because of the lignite industry. Each one equally as important and beneficial to our communities as the other. It's safe to say that the lignite industry boosts the North Dakota economy. Whether by providing jobs to thousands of people, strengthening the economy with billions of dollars of revenue and new businesses, or just lighting up our communities with low-cost electricity, lignite has proven to be quite a valuable resource to our state. As we look towards the future of lignite, we can be excited by the many advancements and changes it will bring to our state. But we know one thing will always stay the same: that living in North Dakota truly is living the good life.